Greetings, this is Dr. Bill Bailey with the VirtZine Netcast. VirtZine is the netcast of virtualization and cloud computing. And we want to welcome you to this edition of the VirtZine Netcast. Now, we are proud members of the Tech Podcast Network, techpodcast.com. If it's tech, it's right here on the VirtZine Netcast. We want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the virtualization and cloud computing world. And we left off with our last netcast, which was netcast number 6. This is number 7 in our series of netcasts. And after that netcast, we had a couple of interesting announcements that came out. And they're available in the blog, VirtZine.com, as it says right here. And I'd encourage you to bookmark in your browser the blog and just check us out every so often, because we're going to be providing information that is of benefit to you and to your business if you are into using cloud computing or virtualization at all. You'll find some interesting information through the VirtZine blog and netcast. Now, first item we've got here is Red Hat announced 2 major things about their cloud computing efforts. They are even more committed than ever to virtualization and cloud computing, and they have a new platform as a service called OpenShift, and the CloudForms software, which works along with that allows you to enable infrastructure as a service. And this was announced at the Red Hat Summit JBoss World Conference in Boston during last week. Actually, at this point, it was May the 12th when I wrote this, so it would have been probably 2 weeks ago now that they announced this. So that's another reason that it's good for you to stay up with the blog, because the information comes out. Pretty much we report on it as it happens. So I'd encourage you to check it out, because we do the VirtZine Netcast, the video netcast, only every so often, and therefore you don't necessarily get the latest information, although you would get it when before you wouldn't have gotten it at all, so that's good. All right, next item is long distance vMotion may be coming. Now, those of you that are familiar with VMware know that vMotion is the ability to move a guest system from one VMware host, to another VMware host without that guest system losing pings, dropping pings, or having any interruption in its services, so that the users that are using that server don't even know that it's been moved to another host. Now, that is quite remarkable in and of itself. But the idea of long distance vMotion is being able to move that guest, that virtual machine, not only between 2 hosts, but between 2 geographically dispersed data centers. How neat is that? And particularly in terms of disaster recovery, that is remarkable. You can actually move a machine to another data center. So if one data center is threatened, let's say you had an absolutely critical business need to keep that system running, which a lot of companies are dependent entirely on their systems. So there's a hurricane coming. So what do? They say, look, let's move that machine to a whole nother data center, maybe in another state, and it will be out of the path of the storm and not have any chance of being affected by that storm. That's pretty cool stuff. So that's what we're talking about with long distance vMotion. And the VMware folks said that was under development. So that's pretty cool. All right, another product announcement here. Product announcement from Veeam. They are now supporting Microsoft Hyper-V with their products. Now, we use Veeam at the hospital where I work in IT. We have VMware, and we have obviously a lot of hosts. We have now about 12 hosts that we're running production on. We also have test clusters and so forth, but we have 2 clusters that are production, and those 2 clusters we're backing up using the Veeam backup software. We're also using Veeam Monitor. Now, they have been providing these services, software, for VMware for a long time, but they're now providing it for Hyper-V. At least they've announced it. They announced it as being available the fourth quarter of this year. So they're not quite there yet. But it's interesting that they are providing it for Hyper-V. Hyper-V, of course, is Microsoft's technology. And I personally prefer VMware. That's just me. I'm a VMware guy, you know. Kind of came up with it. But a lot of folks are going with Hyper-V. A lot of folks are going with XenServer, which is Citrix's product. I have used XenServer, and I'm pretty impressed with that. I actually have not used Hyper-V. Like I said, I'm really entrenched with VMware. A friend of mine at work says I've drunk the Kool-Aid. Well, maybe so, but it works great. And so it's kind of like if it works, why switch? But at any rate, so now Veeam is broadening their horizons, if you will, of what they'll support. All right, next item. VMware acquires Shavlik Technologies. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. They are a small to medium business solution provider for cloud management, managing your cloud resources. And VMware has acquired that company. VMware has been making a few acquisitions over the last year or so, and has been working toward enhancing their offerings. And so more power to them on that. I'm all for it. I'm all for seeing VMware continue to advance their technology. And that's great. That works for all of us. Also, next item, more major player cloud woes. Microsoft's virtual platform also has had outages. Now, we know that PlayStation, their PlayStation Network has had outages. Amazon had issues with their cloud platform. There's been a lot of issues with cloud computing providers having outages and having security problems and things of this nature. Microsoft has been offering their Office suites and Exchange and so forth to businesses as a cloud service. And they had an outage. And one business that's working off of their system said, you know, we may have to move to a locally hosted version of Exchange because our email has to be up at all times. And they're understandably not very happy about the Exchange Online going down. Even though it was a short outage, it was not a very long one, people are getting very sensitive to these outages. So, you know, I think there's going to have to be some tightening up of the cloud offerings before people start taking them really seriously and betting their businesses on them. A lot of businesses already have. So, you know, something to consider. And then finally, last item, the PlayStation Network may have been hacked using Amazon ECS. In other words, using a cloud service to hack a cloud service. That's pretty amazing in and of itself that they're doing that. Amazon's Elastic Computer Cloud, they used it as a staging area to attack Sony's PlayStation Network, which led the service to be down for almost a month. Now, PlayStation Network was down for about a month, but then when they brought it back up, just a couple days ago, it got hacked again. That does not bode well for their business. And so these folks are going to have to get on the ball when it comes to security. I'm sorry. But I think that's true of all these cloud services. They're going to have to enhance their reliability. They're going to have to enhance their security. Another story that I didn't blog about, but that I was made aware of this week, is issues with Dropbox. Now, I use Dropbox, and I love Dropbox. And I still think it's quite secure. But an issue came up where they said that they had changed their criteria, what would you call it, terms of service, to basically say not that their internal employees could not see your data, but that they would not look at your data. It's a subtle difference, but it means that the possibility exists that they could look at your data. So therefore, there was a big uproar about, is Dropbox secure? Do I want to trust my files there and all that kind of stuff? Well, let me say this. Dropbox is highly encrypted. It is secure from the point of view of the outside world, but you've got to trust your provider. If you don't trust your provider, why are you using their service? The second thing is, I don't think Dropbox employees are busy looking at my files. I just don't think they care or have time to do that, because we're talking millions of people here. The other thing is, anything that is highly sensitive that I have on Dropbox, I personally encrypt before I put it in Dropbox. So even if somebody got into my Dropbox account, they wouldn't be able to read, because it's encrypted, files that I have there that have highly sensitive information. Okay? So you can take control yourself of your security and of your encryption, and that's what you should do. Not just totally trust in the provider, although I still do believe you need to find a provider you can put trust in, and that way you're doubly protected. You're encrypted, they're providing security, you trust them, that's what you need. So these are all issues to keep in mind when it comes to cloud computing. We have to take control as much as we can of our own destiny, you might say, when it comes to these cloud computing issues. All right? Well, we're out of time once again. We try to keep these video netcasts short so that you can get some information quickly and stay on top of what's going on in virtualization and cloud computing. Join me next time, and remember until then to keep your head in the cloud.